I mentioned in industry, deadlocks are for real. Okay, don't assume life is always perfect. There will never be any deadlock. There will never be any problem like that. Actually, it's pretty common. I've seen deadlocks occurring in large, busy production environments. Okay, when that happened, it was not pretty because your entire application could freeze. Entire application could freeze, and no one could use that application. That might impact hundreds of users simultaneously. Could be a very serious problem. And we will see when we have a deadlock, we need to do something about that. How do we investigate what we need to do? What's involved in a deadlock? Or if we suspect there might be a deadlock, what do we do to investigate the situation? And I'm using SQL Server as an example, but in other environments, you will have similar tools and you can use similar tools, but the techniques and the concepts are all the same. Because I didn't do this in a production environment, therefore, we will need to simulate a deadlock, and then we will see how, what techniques, what tools we can use to investigate the deadlock or the conflict. So I'm using SQL Server, so we can do this in SSMS, open a query editor window. We will process a transaction. So when we process a transaction, we use this begin transaction and then roll back or commit, right? In this transaction, we are just updating the customer table, just one customer. And this will lock up the entire table, okay? In the transaction, we put in a pause. So pause for 12 minutes. So during these 12 minutes, we will have a deadlock, a conflict, then we will investigate the conflict. So this is the source, the blocking transaction, and then we will simulate a conflict, meaning another transaction needing to access the customer table. So you open another query editor window in SSMS or in dbeaver or Azure Data Studio. And then you just select some data from the customer table. Now let's see the tools we can use and the techniques we can use to investigate the deadlock or the conflict. If we have SSMS, that's the most used tool in industry. Okay, so in industry, wherever there is a SQL Server, SSMS is used. So we will use SSMS. In SSMS, we have this activity monitor. So it's on top. You can start that. And then there are 4 sections. So you look at the processes, and you can see the ID 56. That's the window waiting for 12 minutes, right? And we have another ID 57. That's the window we are running select. And the 56 is blocking 57. So you can see 57 is being blocked by 56. There's a conflict, there's a deadlock, okay. We can also run some code. So use the dynamic management views. So dynamic management views and the dynamic management functions are newer tools. They're just SQL code. So we run this SQL code, get data from dynamic management view, join to this view, two dynamic management views. Okay. You run the code in a query editor window, and you can see 57 are being blocked by 56. Okay. So we are using the 12-minute period. Remember that, wait for 12 minutes. We are using that period to investigate the conflict, the deadlock, and we're using different tools and the techniques. So we will always be seeing the same IDs. And we can use system stored procedure, SP_who_to. So this SP_who_to have been around forever, are very useful. So you run this in another query editor window. You can see "56" is blocking 57. Okay, 57 is being blocked by 56. We can also use a tool, DBCC. So DBCC has been around for a long time, still commonly used in industry. So DBCC, open transaction. You can see we have this open transaction, okay. And we went over different techniques and the different tools we can use for investigating a deadlock or a conflict. Generally speaking, we want to start with the activity monitor. The activity monitor is a GUI. You don't need to write any code. You don't need to run any code. Though under the service, there's a lot of code, but this activity monitor is very comprehensive. Just use it to get some idea about what's going on in your environment. Then you can use other techniques like running code, right? Or maybe even more detailed code to do further investigation, further troubleshooting. And based on my experience in industry, so usually when we had a deadlock, we were able to use the activity monitor to find out the transaction causing the problem. And then you can just right click and then terminate that. Okay, so I have a screenshot, so I cannot do that, but you can just highlight the offending transaction and then terminate that, and then everything else will move on. Okay, pretty interesting, very useful. This is not a rocket science, but this is very practical, very useful. Any question